All right, yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Inseinen Studios podcast. Today we're going over H.P. Lovecraft's "At the Mountains of Madness" story. Um, what's up, everyone?
Not too
Aye.
much.
Yeah, going okay.
It's been a wild
Welcome to the
holidays.
madness.
Yeah, Ball, you were saying how it was longer than you remember, and yeah, I agree. It took a while to read. Like I couldn't read it all in one or even two or three sittings. I think I had about 4 sittings. I'd try to read at least 10 pages at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a dance, boy. It's calm. It's just, yeah. All these
yeah,
terms and all these ideas and all these whatnot.
we were talking in the chat before about how I think it was probably the setup how this is how well prepared these guys were. They weren't like two guys stumbling into a haunted house kind of a thing. These are
Yeah, it's not Scooby Doo or something.
right. Yeah, exactly. And even with all that they came prepared, there's no way to predict this. There's no way to.
Yeah.
to
But yeah, how
prepare.
could I expect all the creatures, the penguins, the city, all of that stuff just out of nowhere?
I was
I
kind of
forgot about
confused
the
at parts,
penguins.
dude. Oh my god, when the penguin thing happened, I thought that was super cool.
I almost
Penguin,
forgot
the
about it.
giant albino penguins, yeah.
Yeah. Do those creatures appear in more than one Lovecraft story? Because I feel like I have come across them before, but I could be wrong.
The penguins?
Yeah.
I have
Penguins
no
and
idea.
penguins.
I haven't read one yet if there is another one with penguins.
Okay.
Another story of penguins.
Nothing comes to my mind.
I might be remembering the same story when I read it before, but I just thought that was such a interesting concept.
There's still,
You know.
still a lot of them I haven't read yet, so you might be right.
Me either.
Okay. Yeah, but I think it's interesting. And they I thought they seem to have lived alongside the old ones. They just like I don't know, maybe a cockroach or not necessarily nothing so nothing such like a pest. Maybe just a bird. That's right. The giant albino penguin is the pigeon of the world of the old ones. They're just always kind of underfoot.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just been a part of the livestock they ate that could have also survived in the area. Or
Yeah,
who
it's the
knows?
only ones that survived. Well, almost the only
do you-
ones.
Do you guys mind if we just like go in for any
Yeah.
questions or details? All right, cool.
Sure.
There were actually a couple parts I was a little confused about. So what happened was the creation of the old ones ended up killing them all, right? The Sluggoths or whatever
Yeah.
they're
Right.
called.
Slug off.
Right. Okay. But and
Shoggoth?
were the
Shoggoth.
Shoggoth? I don't. Who has it? I have it in front of me, but I don't know.
Shoggoth.
The Shoggoths, the ones
Yeah.
created by the old ones that were like their slaves until they.
Yeah. The blobs, man. They were just.
Yeah.
Blobs of eyes, fluorescent.
Love
more-
will get you.
And
they
the
could morph
old
and change
ones,
their
And
hardness
their
and stuff.
slaves that could build and do whatever they wanted and just mimic their ideas, like the carvings in the Black Abyss. And they also make their same carvings, but it was of a lower craft in general.
Right. And it's so interesting. I didn't even pick up that eyes word was until it was kind of totally spelled out, But I should have picked up. Oh, these are their creations, kind of imitating them. They're kind of is almost like I think they describe it as like a parody, a crude parody.
Yeah. And I guess Teleki means like have pity, have remorse. No, have.
it would have been in the old one's language, right? So
Yeah, that's the
how would
last
we
thing
know?
they said to him. So
Maybe it
something
was
like have mercy or something. Yeah, something like have mercy, probably.
I don't know. Maybe it was
They were
just a call,
killing
like
them.
a friendly call, like something they were mimicking.
Yeah, because they were the slaves, so they
Who-
want
who-
to get back to the masters.
Did somebody say parrot yet? Like the bird parrots?
No.
No.
They're kind of like
They're
parrots.
kind of like parrots, I guess. They just
Oh, the parrot
mimic them.
thing. No, Mars. I think all the old ones are. They're not their masters anymore. Like that's,
No, obviously not later on, obviously not. But they were getting back to their old masters because how they were handling them. Like You
Well,
know,
They're
old
acting
ones-
like they're old
yeah.
ones.
The old ones
Okay,
are the
yeah.
elder things. Like they're called two different. It's like interchangeable because I got to know them as the elder things, and
The
then it
five
was
Yeah, in
star.
the beginning they were like the elder things, and then the old ones came
yeah
up more.
because
Like
old ones
they
always
got more
indicated something
respect
else.
for like what they all did to the city and what their history is, with like Cthulhu and all their enemies.
Should we also infer how towards the end, when they get like the tunnel in between the city in the Black Abyss inner
Mm.
mountain place they were going to try to go to, the kind of hieroglyphs and the artistry on the
Yeah,
walls
the carving.
changed a little bit, and they were like, "What the hell? Are we supposed to infer that the Shogunates, because they were trying to intimidate or imitate the old ones,
Yeah,
did those things, and that's why they looked similar but also different?"
yeah. I guess it's from. It's like it's similar but not quite, because they don't have the intelligence to do it, and plus their whole mass is probably waxing out all of the cave, so it looks a bit less good through the ages. Just going against those walls constantly. I think that's
Yeah,
also a thing. And that's
there were
what they.
two parts were like that. He was describing how like the art that was made by the elder things was deteriorating as it's like went through the ages.
Yeah.
But they were in a deeper cave where he was talking about the art on the walls, and it looked like complete trash, and it was like a very bad imitation.
Yeah. It's the Shogunates that made it. They tried to be like their masters, but well, they can't be.
Right. I
They
thought of
worked
it
for
like
millennia, though.
like like a kid's drawing, stuck up on a refrigerator. That's kind of like what the Shogunates were doing there. Crudely pecking away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with what they kind of, this is kind of on our side, but they kind of remind me of I don't know if you're familiar with the Grey Goo concept in science fiction, where they think that a nanomachine that you initially created probably to do your own bidding just would replicate endlessly and convert all matter into a Grey Goo. I just was kind of reminded of that, thinking of the Shogunates. I mean, they aren't nanomachines that we know of, but
They kind of reminded me of like amoeba, an amorphous one that can just like fly around and change its shape and
A gigantic single-celled organism.
shoot bubbles of death at you, apparently.
Yeah, I like the idea that parts of it just came into being as it needed, as you needed initially, and then as they needed it at the end. They could just, it's like a T1000, a gross T1000, a 10-ton T1000.
Yeah, made of blood and ice and rage, basically.
But according to the legends and all that stuff, they worked pretty good for millennia because the civilization was kicking for a few
but
hundred
then
million
they
years.
got more.
Like
But I guess when they got more sentient and got more of what their masters were doing, they're like, no, this is wrong. We need our freedom back. So they turned to their masters and tried to overthrow them. But
yeah, there was some kind of weird.
Dude, they probably just got too smart for their own good.
Yeah.
Because the last
they just learned
like clue they
built
got on the walls, because originally this happened already before with the Shogunates and they killed them all off, but then they remade them again, and this time they were like, oh, they could do more things, they were smarter, and they followed orders. They were more like, I guess, not as badly treated slaves as before, but it was okay because they listened to what the old ones told them to do. But then eventually they just got too smart and they were like, F this. Some kind of like rebellion or something must have happened.
yeah,
I think too that not all of them were killed. I get the idea that they were just resubjugated. So they had these memories of of being subjugated and
oh, they didn't kill them all off once already?
Because I think they call it the War of Subjugation, or resubjugation.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Was this before or after they fought that other war against the amoeba
after
or the fungus type things from the north?
I think
Migo.
the first war was with Cthulhu and his spawn. That was the first.
It was the first war was Cthulhu. What I don't understand about that war is like the Cthulhu won, and then one day he just fell down the sea. Like, how can he be so defeated so easily? They'd be just falling off the rocks and just be dragged away for some reason.
He's hibernating. There was other lore involving Cthulhu.
Hibernating.
He's probably playing the long game too. He's like, you know what? Let the Shogunates deal with this.
Yeah, or
You know,
maybe the stars weren't aligned as well as they should have
Exactly,
been. Like in
right.
the other
Stars
stories, where he
weren't
like
aligned.
just disappeared because
That's the
it
rule.
wasn't
That's
perfectly aligned.
or maybe
That's
just
perfect.
his,
I remember that.
It's always the scapegoat. Oh, the stars weren't.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, that's
You know?
exactly though. I'm glad you remembered. I freaking forgot, and it makes perfect sense now that you brought it up. It's like, right, he's hibernating because the stars aren't right, and it's galactic ages and so on and so forth. And all that.
And I just imagine, you hire this guy for a job, and every time, oh, why you kill off these? Oh no, the star's not right, Just
Okay, another thing I was a little unsure about. So there were old ones living because when they came across the 3 dead bodies with their heads off, those were the old ones. So that leads me to believe that they were either like in the ice, and then when the explorers came around, in the amount of time where we don't know what happened, they like reawoke, and
Because they blew up.
and then the Shogunates came and found them and then killed them.
Yeah,
Well,
the eight perfect specimens were all alive and they thawed out, and
yeah, they reawoke
Okay,
because
so that
they
did
blew
happen.
up the wall. They went to the cave. They dragged them out. The air and all and the change
remember-
of temperature just reawoke them. They think
took
like,
cuts
what the
of meat
fuck
off of
are we
everybody.
doing here? What happened to our world? What are these people? Why did they kill and dissect one of our mates? Let's
No.
kill them all. And like
They
the
butchered
barking dogs, obviously, just going at them, and then like,
Yeah, but can we
Yeah.
infer that the Shogunates came across the campsite during
No.
this or sometimes after it? No. Okay.
No.
No, the elder things woke up and they butchered everybody and took their meat like they were animals.
And
Everybody
then
makes
they were
crew.
found by the Shogunates.
yeah, and
No. They went up.
Like,
They had to
afterwards.
ascend the mountain range, and they did that. And then they got back into the city, and the city is where the Shogunates were still
yeah.
milling about. They were still active in there.
And then they
And it-
killed the old ones, or at least like,
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
in like 1 or 2 sequences. There was like one time it happened, and then it happened again. I don't know. I think something changed. They were tracing their path. Like they found their path that they were on.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because some got away.
Some got away with like the stove and some sleds and some food and some fur and whatnot. And later on, they were killed by the Shogunates while they were like mummifying one of the expedition crew and the dog, just to preserve them and just to examine them, like what happened to life.
I was wondering if it was preserved to eat later,
No,
or
that was
preserved to study.
scientific. Like our Manga explained that there were
Ball's
not
right.
beasts, there were not savages. There were like scientists that woke up in their cold old world and were just trying to figure out what happened. I mean, if there were just beasts, they couldn't figure out how a stove worked or the food or whatnot.
No, yeah,
or
they-
drawings and-
Ball said
Obviously,
they
they were
butchered
really
everybody.
impressed.
They took the meat and they salted it to preserve it because they knew what situation they were in and they didn't know how
Yeah.
long they had, so they took all
Yeah.
the meat they could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beasts
totally.
wouldn't do that. The beast would just kill them all and that's it.
I loved
Mhm.
how they were like meat eaters. Like he talks about that a lot. Like they liked eating animals. Yes.
All right.
And
Right,
humans
yeah.
were stringing them up in the tent. Looks horrifying in the manga, but it's so great.
Yeah, they do a good job of that. Go Tanabe. He nailed the scene. Like,
Yeah. So and when like in one the scene like you see one of the crew members just facing away on his knees and it's just his face is chopped off and then you see the face in the snow and it's like, oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I need
mean-
to get the manga now because I really want to visualize.
It's great.
all
Even
this stuff.
if I had, I mean, I read the manga before the book now, so I didn't even know how accurate it was. But it just looks and feels like it's really doing a great job on the original source material. So yeah, it really works for that. I mean, it makes it a bit more simple. Like some terms are,
dude.
are just turned away from like the
And
Stone
sometimes
Age.
there's
or
like
whatnot.
pages upon pages of structural descriptions, and I'm just like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
10
if
feet
I
high,
don't know if my
50
brain can do this right
wide.
now. Yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
a little difficult sometimes to like put the picture in my head. Like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah. Like
God.
how it all, and for me, like I don't even really know what a feed is. So I'm like, oh, that's so iron, so iron. So it's even more difficult to get through what they mean. Or like when they were describing, like when the old ones woke up, saw that there were like white sapiens with, and then all this terminology were just food and for just dogs and fur and tools. I'm like, why do you just call that? Like, who the fuck talks like that? But he tries to make it even more
Dude,
weird.
it was of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah,
It had
yeah,
something
yeah.
to
It
do with
wasn't
when it was
time,
written.
obviously. But yeah, I
I don't put anything against him. Sometimes I think he could be a little less descriptive, but
don't know. Yeah. A bit,
but
bit less
I
world building.
appreciate
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate all the
um,
details he gives.
I think he's
I,
paid by the word, man. I think when you turn in these papers, you're paid by the word.
Really?
I,
And
I
that's
already
why it
was.
makes it so difficult and long to get it. And I'm like, who the fuck is gonna figure this all out? Like, what we're all saying, like, yeah, maybe maybe somebody from a real university or some high degree or whatnot, but the
Dude,
majority,
I
no.
just keep my phone by me and I Google every word I don't know. Although sometimes I'm just like, it takes too long, so I'll just read through and use the context.
Yeah,
But
I didn't even try.
I try to look the words up because sometimes it really does help. You'll be like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I mean, I did with some painters. Like in the beginning, there was like one painter from like the 30s or like the 19th century that made all these mountain paintings of like Asia, and they described the mountains of madness.
I did
Like,
look those up to get
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
idea of what it tried to look like because he mentions it a lot, at least half a dozen times. He
Yeah,
mentions
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do you
Some of
think it's
these
that many
artists.
times?
It's a lot, dude. It's multiple times
I know
throughout the
it's multiple
story.
times. I never thought six, but maybe you're right. It could be six.
It might not
You
be,
keep
but I
seeing
remember
it.
it being
I
a
mean, for
lot.
like the one painting from the mountain range was like 2 times, and then just a different artist or and different writers are brought up. I mean, it's probably also in the manga. Maybe it's in the beginning or something. It would be nice.
Well, what's crazy is we never even get to see the craziness beyond the mountains of madness. The mountains
No,
that were, talked about where
yeah,
they
that's
were
the
like
cosmic horror.
hesitant to talk about it. Yeah. Like even
The cosmic
taller.
horror you never will know. They even told in that, and they even mentioned the color out of space as like another work. He even mentioned in that, like at the end when he went mad, he just called up some titles. I'm like,
So
I got that reference.
based
Yeah,
on
I
what you
can't.
just said, Insane, they were talking about another mountain that was in the same area.
Yeah, like 300 miles east or something.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
What
one.
do you?
Yeah. I'm just saying, do we get any other information on those
Yeah, I'm
mountains?
trying to think. Like, what did they say about it? Like, they said specifically. I remember
300
that this part
miles.
was there.
They were talking about how on the murals on the walls, it indicated something of fear. Like
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah. But
wouldn't like bring it up as much. They wouldn't give
Ah,
details of
yeah,
what was
yeah, yeah.
there,
I
but
remember
it
the
was like
part.
a
Yeah.
feeling of apprehension that they would
huh.
not go there because they were like kind of
Maybe
scared.
I thought it was Cthulhu. They didn't want to bring up Cthulhu too much
I don't know.
because
Maybe it was
those.
the
the
I don't remember
Migo.
getting a lot of
no,
details.
not the Migo. The other ones, the flying polyps, the ones that were like unkillable.
That are mentioned in a
Hmm.
different story or this
I-
one?
In the Shadow Out of Time, they
Oh,
were the primary enemy that they
I
couldn't
haven't read
swap
that.
brains with. Remember, they couldn't swap brains with that one
Ah,
alien
right.
species,
There was one
yeah.
that
Oh,
was
oh, wait,
so.
wait. Okay, okay.
and they were immaterial. They were like, remember, and even in the Mountains of Madness, they describe the Elder Things as material, like human beings are material. But
Mm.
Cthulhu and the Migo
Oh,
and the flying polyps are immaterial. They're like of the other world.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I'm just saying we didn't get any in-story details that I
I
can
know, right?
recall. Like it's
No,
just a
we
Now,
could
just a
speculate at
giant
this point.
mystery of like what these super crazy beings, what even they're afraid of after
Yeah,
they had all these wars against these,
right.
cross
mythical
yeah,
creatures.
era cosmos monsters.
That's
yeah.
what
It
I
was
thought.
Like
cool
Like,
how
you
it's
think, like why would it go all
specified.
to Earth to fight the elder one, the old ones? Like, what's the point? You just get a small rock in space that, yeah, can have life, and that's about it. It's not that important if you come from a far greater world than that.
I just think that I was interested in seeing like as long as the life wasn't antagonistic to them, they were just kind of interested because they mentioned earlier. There was one point where they mentioned that how they were amused by a simian ancestor of us that they would have just kind of around the place, you know.
I think that was a part of its livestock description.
But
When they were talking about the livestock, they were talking about the simian type things. Either that or things they made. That's the other thing I don't really get. So did they like it almost read it like they're genetically mutating creatures to make them in a certain way, or they just literally make
they
creatures
reuse
out of
from,
nothing. Like it
they
almost
tried
sounded like they made the
molecules,
Shogunates
I
out
guess
of
they
their
could.
own, you know,
I mean,
spit
they,
or something.
I mean, they
oh,
work with,
here's the part with the simian. Used sometimes for food and sometimes as an amusing buffoon by the land dwellers.
Oh,
It's
okay, yeah.
simian and human foreshadowings are unmistakable. So they essentially they have like, you know, a court gesture that they also sometimes eat, you know.
yeah, some for light, like fluorescent light they used, like for the underwater
Yeah, but did they
caves,
make
and
these creatures
caves of the
themselves?
abyss they used it on, and then later on they used for, I don't know, the Shogunates, and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Okay, yes, Mars. Those are things that
Uh-huh.
are written. What I'm saying
Yes.
is, did the old ones create
The-
them? Like, what did they create them out of? It
No,
almost sounded like they were their
It was,
makers. You know
uh,
From
what
what
I
I
mean?
get, the
I
only
think
things
it's
that they
I don't
actually
even remember.
the only thing that they made were the Shogunates, but they didn't. You're asking if they affected evolution of the earth creatures in any way. I don't think so. Not that I could have seen. I don't think that they changed them in any way. They were just observers and using them as livestock and so on. You know, I like that they had saurian livestock. You know, they just had like a brontosaurus or something as like a cow. That's like their you know
Yeah,
just
it's cool. It was honestly really cool thinking about Antarctica as a tropical environment when they described their heyday. I was like, that's pretty cool.
that reminds me of I read that even as a kid, Lovecraft was apparently like enamored with the idea of Antarctic expeditions. You know, so I guess
I believe it. He put a
that,
lot of thought. He could have said he went on one himself. The way he like read the story.
yeah, I know, right? It's like just be starting up. I think he was like, you know what? I've been reading about this since I was 9 years old or whatever. Let me just put every detail into this. You know, he's talking about the fuel warming mechanism of the plane and all this sort of thing, you know. That was like, I mean, imagine that was like the highest tech that it had available at the time, you know. It might sound kind of, and even now people find it's difficult to explore that region, you know. So like, imagine much more for these guys.
I can't imagine doing it.
One thing I thought was interesting was how well the elder ones took to using the tech and resources of the humans. You know, I just thought that I was like they imagine that you wake up in a totally alien place, and you know 2 days from now you're using their sleds, their stoves, their food. You know, the hell
You're killing them because they mutilated your other brothers that woke up before you.
I like the idea that they're opening the cans in like various abnormal ways. You know, like one of them is just stabbing it from the side. You know, nobody's using it. They could understand the use of all the other stuff, but none of them could have mastered a can opener. You know, or even know what to do with it. I thought that was interesting, and that even the length of time that they were frozen makes me wonder like when they went back, they were exploring the place almost as if they were the humans because they talked about the etchings that they made and so on, and they tried to go down one passageway and it was blocked. You know, so I was wondering what was the length of time that they were really asleep that the whole place had totally changed around them, and I was also wondering if like
are you talking about how long the old ones were hibernating?
Right.
I don't know. And then why weren't there more of them?
Right, I was wondering, did their friends just leave them to freeze and nobody, or maybe they were just some guys that were hanging around?
Well, either one, they colonized to a different area. 2, they all got murdered by the Shogunates, and then maybe some of them escaped to hibernate in the meantime. or some kind of combination of all that. But I don't know. There's a lot of mystery. There's like a lot of mystery, like things you could think about. I feel like to all the events.
Right. Yeah, right. Even I like that. There was something like the allowance of our cosmic horrors, and even to them, there's a further cosmic horror, a cosmic horror. Which they created. The Shogunates.
Yeah. Even Abdul Hasra didn't want to mention that the Shogunates were birthed on Earth through herbs that they inhaled.
Yeah, I love that line.
Mhm.
What do you call drug dreamers? Dreams of those who chewed on an alkaloidal herb. These are the only people that see Shogunates. They don't exist. He's a mad Arab, and even he cannot imagine these things.
My mic was out for a while there. I thought.
I was wondering why you weren't talking. I was like, all right.
I thought I was being ignored. I was like, what the fuck?
I guess Emerald's waiting for something. I know he's interested in this story.
I mean, we just wait to Beal's talk. He's finished.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was trying to say something about how that they were the creators of all life. The elder things when we were talking about that. I think it's
the
implied
old ones
that
did create all their shit, right?
I
all
think
the
that
animals and livestock. That's what it sounded like.
I think that they created all life on Earth. They kickstarted life.
Oh, what?
Yeah, they got the Earth out of the Archean epoch, which was. Isn't that kind of implied?
Yeah, I remember epoch, but fuck, so many stuff goes beyond that.
I didn't get that. I'm not saying you're not right, but I kind of just got that they created the
if they came
creatures
here,
that they were describing.
If they came here 500 million years ago, that means that they pretty much could have like either created life from scratch or spread it their own life, or they took the life that was already here and influenced
some
it.
life in any way. I mean,
because like they were able to create.
They created some life, and what was left from that was probably the penguins, the Shogunates, and the realm, and that's about it. For now, then, the kickstarted some life, yeah.
I thought it was said basically that like the things they created, they lost interest in, and they just let it loose into the wild, and it became like life on Earth. That stuff they created evolved into animals and such.
I mean, it makes sense because they entered Earth like in the sea when nothing was around, and it was just them, and just create their own cities, and just going from north to the land. Then that got cold and go back to the seas and other abysses. And yeah, pretty much they just created life for their own at all these different stages, and then just let some loose. Yeah, that makes sense because they did do that.
I don't feel no. I get the other that they experimented, but I don't get the other that they created life as a whole.
Okay.
Because
there's experiments to make shit work, obviously.
I don't know.
Different tools for themselves.
It's a little vague, too. Because there's some parts where I'm like, oh, they created everything. And those parts sounded like, oh, maybe they just kind of like collected these things. Or maybe they created some of them, but not all of them.
Right.
The crazy shit, it almost sounds like they can manipulate matter.
Wait a minute, here we go.
The way the buildings are made. And the way they like did the art and stuff.
Yeah, Shoggoth tissue is Shoggoth tissue from which to breed stone lifters and subsequent beasts of burden for the cavern city, and other protoplasmic matter to mold into phosphorescent organisms for lighting purposes. I don't know. Protoplasmic matter? Is that
dude, I think what they're talking about is making the stalagmites for light.
They're using the Shoggoth tissue to make phosphorescent matter in organisms.
Dude, they have some crazy shit going on with them. They can do some weird things.
Yeah, in the manga, they just use lasers, like these special lasers, just to make all the blocks and whatnot to make the city itself. And what it told about himself was they're really sturdy. They can fly. They can all do this stuff. But if they die, they can only die in violence, basically, because they barely die at all. So they're really are preparing their own deaths. Like in the end, even they thought that when they were trying to outrun the Shogunates, that one was wounded, one of the old ones was wounded, and he yelled Tekeriki, and they stopped by the old friends to bury them because they were really close with their own kind to bury the dead and whatnot. But no, it was just mimicking themselves. So yeah, I don't know. Just random memories that has something to do with it. Hmm.
It is pretty cool how in Shadow Out of Time he can explain the alien setting by having a character actually be in the setting as the
Yeah.
alien. And in this one, he's able to explain the alien setting with just these frescoes and like the idea that they portrayed their entire
Yeah, a bit
culture and art.
too well to explaining it. Like
His
first
you
time
know,
seeing
Yeah, that
all
was a
this, no, I
little
can
like
explain everything.
far fetched too in my mind. I was like, that's a little too much of a coincidence
I
that
can buy it because
all
it sounds
these
like
things are written on the walls.
Let's
And they
sounds
just
like it was their
interpret
I mean,
it.
sure, a lot of history can be written on the walls, like many civilizations did that, but it took years to uncipher everything to know all of that. And they just are like survive, and they just are in this Arctic world. They don't know anything of the city, don't know anything of all these creatures, whatnot, and just look at this wallpaper, look at these walls, and they can just make out all the history of it. I'm like, how can you do it if it's just the first time you see all of this, and it's just
let's
beyond
just,
what they know.
if you
I
wanted
mean,
to
they
explain,
say
you
it's
could say
almost
that.
impossible to do it, but yeah, I mean, in the beginning they say like, was like, how can this be? Like they were in their own denial. Like, how can this be that these creatures were before humans were just as great or even better than us and just created all of this? They couldn't wrap their own heads around it, but they can explain all of this. That's also kind of weird, but that was sort of story itself, I think. But
Well,
yeah.
if you wanted to really explain, you could say that, well, they took a lot of pictures and a lot of drawings and stuff as much as their resources would allow, and they decoded it after because I did
Yeah, they
see.
recorded their photos and sketches and notes and whatnot. They even tried to they used their own notes to get the way back from the abyss itself, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
but
it's
still,
kind
it
of a
needs
side thing, but
a lot more time than that.
I play a lot of survival horror games where resource management is like a big thing, you know. So I like the attention to detail that we have a finite amount of paper, a finite amount of film to take pictures of, and we had to use this stuff carefully, Like imagine you use your last piece of film to take a picture of some statue, and then by the way, we meet the Shogut, across the corner, That's kind of.
I didn't like how we knew they were going to survive because it kind of took the tension out of the whole chase and like.
Yeah, when
them
they're
being,
once
it took it out of
outside,
the
like,
chasing.
oh, we're kind of safe, and we could just outrun them and get to their plane, and nothing ever happens except one of them looking behind him and then just go mad and seeing the
Well,
Shogunates
no, I'm
going
saying
around the mountains with the mirage.
no, I'm saying the narrator who's telling the story already let us know basically that him and his friend are going to survive. So we know that.
Yeah, at the beginning, like when they escaped and then his partner got mad. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's
I'm just saying
okay.
it kind of took the tension out.
That,
I never
that's how he
felt like
starts all his
scared.
stories, though.
Maybe I don't know. I didn't get some of like the tension I got from the other stories. It was kind
Yeah,
of harder
maybe.
for me to read.
I mean, Shadow of
I
Time
almost
didn't really have
liked
that
the first
much
half
tension,
better.
though. There was more exposition and more explanation of what happened in his dreams. It's like
I
more
almost
the
liked the
dream.
first part, like the Arctic exploration half. I remember the first half is just like Arctic exploration. I was like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
I
actually
mean,
pretty
the
cool.
very beginning was a lot of exposition and a lot of explaining like how the rock formation is formed, and then you get a little bit of like the elders, the stars in the patterns and whatnot. So you get a little bit, and then more and more and more till we get the end. I mean, that was nice, obviously, that they just go from just almost like the most normal expedition stuff you can think of to the madness you get at the end, obviously. So
The first time I read it was a few months ago, so I only kind of half-ass reread it for this. But the first time I read it,
yesterday, like the end part, and then
yeah,
the weeks
and
before that, it just kept
yeah.
listening to.
My point is though, is just that like the first time I read it, it sucked me in, and I read it in 2 nights. I was like, it was just like I stayed awake to read.
Holy
which is-
shit.
yeah, like it.
I couldn't do that.
So if you're
I
talking
would
about
just
like
forget like
you're talking about like
quarter of that
tension,
in one.
then like it had me, man. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time I was reading it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, it does that, but don't read it if you're really late at night. Then you just forget all. Then you don't really get it either. Then you don't really get all, and then with all the terminology and the lore and whatnot, and it doesn't really stick. You need to read it like a day, than just at night. That was my problem. That
It was
I
like
read it.
it was the first Lovecraft story I had read in a couple of years since I first got the book and read like a big chunk of his stuff. And then like the thing that got me back into Lovecraft was reading the Mountains of Madness. And then shortly afterwards, we got together and started getting
Oh,
ready to do
really?
these podcasts.
That's
Yeah, pretty
recently.
much. Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that was
My rambling.
yeah. Where were we on the story though?
Dude,
Random
wherever.
point.
Wherever you want. I was just talking about
let me
things I
get-
was unsure of that I wanted to get your guys'
I mean,
thoughts on.
I'm kind of wondering what all the structures were for, like long towers that had all these bridges and all these pointed structures that need to connect to structures. I mean, well, I tried to figure out the layout of the whole city, like in my mind. Like I know there was a river that once dried up that was flowing through the city, and then you have all these other structures. I'm like, but some of them don't really make sense because
He basically said it was sprawling metropolis for miles in every direction. Like it was.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, that it's
Well,
huge.
not every direction.
Ginormous, obviously.
Along the entire range of the mountain range. It was at the base
No.
where the mountains met the plateau that the city was built along there, and it just stretched for miles. Like
and it's also, these are creatures that have been here for like what was the time scale? It was like an unimaginable amount of time, like 40 million years or something like
150 million or something ago.
I heard different amounts mentioned. But
there were a lot. Well, he jumped back and forth between details and murals and what kind of time period he thought it took place in, or like he would reference one time period and then another time period. I remember it ranging from like 50 million to like 500,000.
Right,
years
I remember
of like different events and stuff. Maybe 50 million is too much, but I remember million being mentioned a few times.
Yeah, and even the city itself had structures from Cthulhu itself that they made their own structures until one day that it got to hibernating in the sea. But
what?
Yeah, Cthulhu made his own structures when he was ruling for like a million years or something.
Rillier, which had the non-Euclidean architecture. Rillier.
Yeah.
Which the city of the Elder Things is more normal.
It's not, I mean, this is
not
the city of
otherworldly.
Lang, and then they call it. What did they call it? The city of Cthulhu. Fuck. So much stuff.
Yeah, the city of Lang.
I'm reading a part here where it says the specimens found by Paul Lake did not enter into these guesses for their geological setting, proved them to have lived at what must have been a very early date in the Atlantis history.
The city of Rillier. Rillier, yeah, that's it. That's city of Rillier.
Right, but this part here, they were, according to their location, certainly not less than 30 million years old. Right, so you're talking about, this is why I think it explains the pointlessness of the huge city and the apparent purposelessness. Because it's kind of like Blam, you have creatures building outwards endlessly, so that the city itself becomes
the world
like just an endless labyrinth, that nobody could really work out.
I think the way he almost described them like they were living like bats in terms of like the way they relaxed. Like if they slept or anything, they just got into rooms and like stood there and just went to sleep. And there was nothing.
Oh, they do remember.
Yeah, there was no there was no furniture. There were like
which
they slept standing up on rocks.
Yeah, okay, or something like that, where it was very just impersonal. It was just like sleeping was just for sleeping, and they did it in groups, and they didn't care, and they just woke up, and then they went back to like messing with biological material and creating things and building cities,
creating life and creating all kinds of
stuff. Yo, who is like watching a movie in the background?
Not me. But
Where's where the
another,
dogs are?
That's probably BL.
there's always all kind of creatures in distance.
Creatures
Oh,
roaming
I
around
wish-
in your area.
I wish I was where you are during these podcasts because it sounds so lively.
Yeah, maybe a little too lively, you know.
I'm
Like we have
serious.
some-
It
Too
sounds
many
like a fun
creatures
time.
just roaming around.
Yeah, we have I think I mentioned this foreign exchange roosters. Yeah, each one of them crows at a different time in the night. You know what? 12 midnight. 3 a.m. 6 a.m. midday. So it's not necessarily always a good thing. Oh yeah, and here's another date. As we stepped out into the monstrous cylinder bottom, 50 million years old, and without a doubt the most primarily ancient structure ever to
50
meet our eyes.
million.
Right? So now,
I remember seeing that somewhere.
so you think you're exaggerating, but he does mention it. All right, and look here, he is saying, old
He
ones,
jumps back and forth. Yeah, like a lot. But I mean,
very vivid
it's al-
sculptures of the old
It's
ones.
also kind of sorry. Finish ball.
I was saying here, he is saying 150 million years ago in another place, right?
Oh, really?
So this is what explains, the craziness of the city. It just what does 150 million years of building look like?
We also have to realize that this is just based on this dude's opinion, based on the knowledge that was around and during this time period. Like it almost sounds like he changes his mind a couple times about the times based on what else he finds. So I think we're he could be accurate, or it could just be this dude's thoughts.
I was also
or he's writing it all down, so he's just making guesses like what it would be. Like he's not like on the spot and he's explaining it all like along the way. He's like remembering all this stuff from his notes and from his photographs. Like he tells like a couple of times, like if we hadn't these photographs or notes, I wouldn't even believe that all of this was real. So yeah, I think it was just him remembering and just going back and forth just to give more info to it, like what times these were.
I was also thinking though that he was able to identify some dates by looking at the creatures and knowing with his scientific knowledge the year as these things existed. Because remember, they were there initially for at least in part paleontological reasons. Looking at what creatures were. So if he sees, all right, well, here's an old one, and he's next to Stegosaurus or whatever, we know this is 75 million years ago or whatever, and then like later on, he's looking at even more primitive life, and he's still seeing these guys next to them, So I think that is how I was imagining that he was able to kind of date what he was looking at on the wall, because if you remember in the beginning, they were surprised that there was complex life at a date when they thought that there was only the very simplest beginnings of life, right? Which is why I also think that the old ones didn't create life. The very fact that there's this simple life kind of forming on Earth when they were there, because if you were creating life, you wouldn't start with like an amoeba if you already have mastery over DNA and thing. We'd start with something that was useful to us, like one of the Brontosaurus cows or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, I'm still thinking about it. I was flipping through the pages looking for some of the lines I was thinking of, and I still remember the one that says like the things that they made, they let go and they let them loose and they went on their own path or something to that effect.
That could be like anything.
I think those they are messing with what exists, because the fact that they talk about them like livestock means like this is just something that we opportunistically happen across that we're making use of. Whereas if they were engineering something to eat, I think that they would have made something like a shoggoth that just makes meat. That big thing that that thing where they carve meat off of to make gyros and this kind of thing. They would have made something like that. A big shoggoth endless gyro wheel. If they were making livestock.
If they wanted to eat that.
I was wondering that. But I
It
think,
almost sounds like they just ate for pleasure. Like they didn't really
Right.
have to eat that much. They just wanted to eat.
and when they wanted something more gamey, they would go for the Brontosaurus as opposed to the Shogot Giro, you know. So at least that is how I see it. You know, this is the native wildlife. In Trinidad, they have this thing called wild meat. You know, basically whatever creature runs across the road, people kill it and eat it. You know, we have iguanas and armadillos and thing here. You know, that people eat. So the dinosaurs or stuff like that to them. You know, this is we getting like a fried brontosaurus today, which is like to them a fried possum or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I kind of see it. Because you did mention, and they mentioned that they eat for pleasure. You know, we could subsist on starlight and whatever the hell chemicals. They mentioned they absorb the chemicals. Anybody remember this? They absorb chemicals
Yeah.
on
Dude,
the travel.
I think they have some kind of control over matter to a certain degree.
Right.
You're
So they
talking.
didn't.
You're talking like they can do biological functions with
Here's
sunlight or something.
Here's the part. For their prehistoric flights through cosmic space,
Yeah.
legends said they had absorbed certain chemicals and become almost independent of eating, breathing, or heat conditions. But by the time the Great Cold, they had lost track of the method, which is why they had.
Yeah, did they like get lazy and lose some of their technology, or did they evolve?
Yeah, they lose. Yeah, they lost
lost it.
technology how to survive in space to go from space to Earth. Like they lost along the technology.
No,
Like, it was
dude,
too
I
long
think
ago
the way I read it was easy for them to get on Earth, but they couldn't leave the atmosphere. Like maybe they just couldn't overcome the force they needed to leave the atmosphere, but their body was tough enough.
But Ball was talking about the chemical that they absorbed at a certain point. In either they absorbed it like as happenstance, like they were traveling through space and they just so happened to have gotten involved with this chemical, or they did it themselves and they lost track how to do it. Which both the interpretation is hard to get. I don't know. What do you think, Paul? You just mentioned it too.
Right, but look at this part. I think that whatever the old secret of interstellar travel had been, it was now definitely lost to the race. So it's not that it's not possible. I think that they've kind of forgotten a lot of the old technology, and I mean, like in a lot of science fiction, this is kind of
because like how do they get to Earth in the first place? Like how are they traveling? You know.
Well, we're talking about though that this is similar to Blam, you know,
through the manga.
You remember like how in Blam there's so much that is lost to people that live in there because it's been so long that they needed to use it.
You need to.
Well, dude, we're asking the same questions now as modern humans. We don't know how like ancient people built their structures and stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's so otherworldly that you can't even compare it to our own. I mean, with our own civilizations, we can get a grip on how they worked or how they think. I mean, these are completely different creatures. It's like that's a completely different ballpark to do.
Well, look at the span of time we're talking about. Yeah, we're talking about as much as 150 million years to now, and I think that there was a certain amount of degradation in them, maybe because of their complacency of living on Earth, having a relatively easy life as opposed to being spacefaring. Because didn't they mention the degradation of the quality of the artwork on the walls?
Yeah,
I think that was indicative of their kind of losing, some of the edge that they had, you know.
Yeah, they seem just to have degraded, and he basically attributed it to like the 3 major wars, and then there was some other shit, and then they had to migrate a bunch of times, and before you knew it, all they had left was Antarctica. Like it was Antarctica.
Yeah,
the Antarctica city was the last city they built because they were living in the ocean prior to that. And then there was a part where he mentions that the underwater cities, there was evidence that they had burrowed into the earth.
Yeah, because
the bedrock in the
on
ocean.
the original city, which is the Arctic city, where it was the original when it came from. Then it went back to the sea, but then some colonies went to the sea because they didn't know, because they couldn't survive down there, and then some stayed on the Arctic.
They could survive in the water.
Yeah,
They built
They,
cities
and
there.
they could survive in the water, but no, that's not what I mean. I mean, in the Arctic, they couldn't survive. Like the temperatures changed, they couldn't survive because there was no
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, the
Livestock
cold
dying.
came, like,
Everything was literally dying except the penguins. So they went. So some colonies went back to the sea. And when at the end of the story, when the surviving old ones were looking for their own species, so they went back to the abyss, to the waters, to the underwater caves in the north in the north caves to look for their old mates if they were still alive down there in the seas. So they buried themselves in earth or in the sea themselves.
what was that last part? You said they were looking for their
You
kin.
guys do your thing. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, they were looking for their kin in the north.
Yeah, in the abyss, the black abyss. Like
Yeah, they migrated there.
they were looking. Like I know from
Traveled there.
yeah, in the last part of the story, they were Danford and his other pals were conspiring. Like, where are they going? They're probably going to the other old ones that are probably still alive in the seas, because those are the places that are deep enough to survive for them. So they knew that under the city was a giant lake, like this giant old sea with all the beings and whatnot. So it could be that, and the only way to enter that was through the North Cave. So they probably went to the North Cave, go into the abyss, try to look for their old mates just to have some idea what happened. But then they meet the Shogunates, they get killed by the Shogunates, and that's where that ends. Basically.
Yeah, because every time that they lost control of their civilization, the Shoggoth would
Rise again and try to
Yeah,
kill them.
yeah.
Oh, was it implied that they were like when they mentioned that how when they were getting closer to the bottom of the dome, the place was getting hotter and hotter? Did they like work out how
it was getting hotter, and because it was so close to the core that it got more hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter through. Maybe they thought like the seas were frozen up or some life was still down there, but it's warming up, so the seas were still not solid, and there were still seas, probably really cold, but and probably through the Shogunates, because in the beginning they saw all these fumes going from the mountains, but later on they know that those are not fumes from like the core of the mountain, from
volcanism.
from the Earth. No, those are from the Shogunates puffing all these chemicals out, or like that's how I interpreted it at the end.
Yeah, I think that part I agree with. I think it's because the mist only came when the Shoggoth was there.
Yeah.
Yo, you guys gotta check this out. I got this coffee cup recently. It's I don't know who watched Digimon, but it's War Greymon and Tai. I went to this like anime store around Christmas time with some family. I eyed it down, dude. Did anybody watch Digimon?
Yeah, I watched season 1.
Back when I was a kid, yeah, sure.
I watched the movie a few times, you know. They had some surprisingly great animation.
I love the movie, dude. The movie is so good.
And the animation is great, you know.
It's like I get emotional. Like seriously. I think it's because it's one of the first movies. I remember it was in theaters here in America. It was like I was really young. One of the first movies I ever saw in a movie theater. And I was such a big Digimon fan. And when War Greymon and Metal Garurumon like form up with all the energy from the kids and like blast away all the Diaboromons, I had like a mind orgasm, little kid mind orgasm. So it still gets me even nowadays. I'm just like, yes.
There's this gag where one of the guys is there's two guys in a truck, right? And one of the guys says, you know, oh, what the hell? Did you see that? Like a Digimon passing or something, right? And the other guy's like, oh no, I was asleep. And the other guy's like, oh, what the hell? You was driving.
Yeah. The music's great too. It has a really good soundtrack. All good songs. Anyway, sorry for that deviation into Digimon territory.
I saw some years apart. In the later most decades of sculpted carvings, a shambling Simeon-like creature of a foreshadowing of man was sized and used as substance. So they made ape-like humans to do their bidding and to eat them, literally. So yeah, they probably made mankind in a way, because they already made like what we know of in the Stone Age, and before that, like we came from apes, first from fish, then from apes. So yeah, and later on we get a look at probably the real Necronomicon, like encased in glass at the university, like worm riddled, like with real skin all around it. So that's also, I mean, pretty weird. Why did they use anyway skin from the Necronomicon? Yeah, just to make it more spooky, sure, but.
Yeah, dude,
That
of
was
course.
that was the style at the time, Oh, what do we
Yeah,
make these
yeah, I
books out of
get it.
paper?
Thanks.
No. Human skin, right? Only human skin will do,
Yo,
Like-
what were you guys'
Mm.
favorite parts of the story?
I guess at the end, the end parts, like the real.
All right,
beginning
Emerald, you
was,
go
like,
first.
So long.
Just I definitely liked when
I got you, Bars.
Fuck you.
fucking when Lake and his crew, they first phoned back that they've seen mountains that are taller than Everest. And just the whole
Oh yeah, that was exciting. Sorry.
yeah, it was just the whole thing with the mountains was very cool. I love the setting that when they revealed it and the way it was described and like how jagged it was and how, like it was just the shittiest looking mountain range ever, but it was the biggest one ever. And yeah, that was pretty cool.
And he was like, his comms were coming in every 20 minutes or so because he had to like restrain his thoughts before he would like let him know.
Mhm.
'Cause he was like so excited. They're
I
like
thought
getting
that-
all this information secondhand, like hundreds of miles away. Like I can just imagine you sitting next to your friend, like learning all of this with him. Like,
Like what?
oh
the
my
fuck?
god.
I would be thinking, like, is this guy for real? Like, just think I hearing this stuff, Like, has this guy gone and see? Because you're not even seeing it. It's not like, a guy landing on the moon. We could see this thing live, This guy is talking about unspeakable things, over the slowest method of communication. We're getting this freaking text, one character at a time or something.
Yeah, speaking of mountains, what's the highest elevation you guys have been to?
Not much.
None.
Because they're saying
Either-
We don't even have mountains in the land, so yeah, that's none.
I mean, I've camped at. I guess I ballparked it at like 3.5 meters or 3.5 thousand meters. And
Oh.
I want to say like
Haven't you guys ever been snowboarding?
it was
Or, like,
10,000 feet. but
hiking?
yeah.
Yeah, skiing
Well,
one time, and
hiking
I just
is,
went on my
but,
face,
not-
and that's it.
Anyway, like when you go over like 1,000 meters, like or better, you go like 1,500. Like that's when oxygen gets thin. And this whole story is taking place like at 20,000 feet is the height of the plateau, and then he's saying the mountain range goes up to even like 35,000 feet. I know it's hard for me to work with meters and feet for everybody
Yeah,
to
me too.
understand.
Fucking Americans.
Yeah,
I
just
just
divide
think of
by
a
3 and add a
super
little bit.
large-
That's what I do.
I just think of a super large, like it's really tall. I
Yeah,
don't know,
and then
it's
here
hard
he's
for me
saying
to
like
do.
the really scary mountain that even the old ones were scared of. That one was 40,000 feet up in the air.
Right.
That's
So
a monster, dude. That's higher than planes and shit. Like planes could crash into that.
Oh my god. That's
40,000
yeah.
feet is 12,000 meters. Just so you know. So that is that you practically, what is that? That is like a vacuum. Well, not a vacuum because obviously planes flying through it, but still.
Planes
like
like to fly like a commercial like 747, 737. That's like a 30,000 foot plane. And then he's saying these mountains are 10,000 higher than that,
I mean,
or like the
I'm
Grand.
thi- I'm- yeah, wait.
They would not.
I'm thinking about like a recent discovery that like they found with like scans. They were scanning the Earth, and they just found 2 mountains underground that were higher than Mount Everest. Just like a giant cave under the Earth, and it's just 2 mountains. I'm just thinking like, oh man, what Lovecraft could have done with that as a story, like 2 mountains under the Earth, and then just.
It's like 7 miles and divide that by 2.5 for your kilometers, or multiply it by 2.5.
Yeah, it was also I don't know. It's just like that stuck with me, and obviously with this story, it just came back up. I'm like, oh, that would be great if he
Yeah.
knew that back in the day.
Yeah.
Just for a story.
Yeah, and having hiked up some mountains and gone up to like 10,000 feet and all that crap, like it was that was why I liked the mountain scene so much because the
Yeah.
implication was that these mountains were monsters, like
Mhm.
Yeah,
taller than
Like-
Everest.
And like the part when they first came into the mountain range and then just saw a mirage of like the city and the mountains just
Yeah.
going. It's like going through another world.
The
Basically.
Fata
Like, you're
Morgana.
going- yeah, Fata Morgana. They're going through a portal to another world, which they really did.
Have you ever seen a
like,
Fata Morgana? It's pretty.
I mean, yeah, just on video, but not
Yeah.
for in real life.
Yeah, I was driving across the United States, like going westward, and you can see the Rocky Mountain range. Like
Mm.
before you see it, it's you see a projection of the range before the mountains actually peak over the horizon. It's very
Yeah.
vivid. Like you think you're looking at a mountain. It's bizarre.
But you're not. You're looking at vapor just bouncing off of it.
Yeah, catching the reflection really well.
Mhm.
There's a few like there was a line where around that area where he called it a mirage in solid stone, which I thought that was so interesting. Here is something set in stone literally in front of him, but he can't believe it. There's a lot of he always has his poetic way of saying stuff. There's this he uses the phrase sunless sea to describe kind of the last bastion of the old ones, I guess that was at the bottom of the hemisphere. That I thought that there's a game called Sunless Sea, and I'm pretty sure that they got it from here. Because doesn't that just evoke so much a sunless sea? What is even that? And one little thing that I liked was when they were fleeing the creatures at the end. Both the Shogut and the old ones, they were also kind of freaked out by. They mentioned that they would put their torch on the dimmest settings, but they didn't even know if the senses that this creature had would even depend on their light or not. It probably could have seen just
I
as
remember
well.
that. Yeah. That was interesting. That's like another level of like fear. They could have been like, oh my God, does he even sense us? Or like, what are we doing wrong? What should we be doing to escape?
Yeah, this thing's seeing in infrared. We nothing we could do could hide us. But I was surprised that it took a wrong turn. And that was funny. But
yeah, they were just going after the penguins. Like in the manga, they just stood and looked at the monster, and in the book, they just immediately ran away. They just turned one blink, and he saw this fluorescent creature coming at them like a metro line. Danford was describing it in his madness like a metro line going at them with all the lights and all the eyes and whatnot and all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, it's interesting because he was mentioning all these stations like in New England or something.
Yeah, he was trying to ground he's trying to ground his mind in something concrete.
It's really reality, but it turns into madness.
Madness.
Yeah,
the mountains of madness.
Yes, the
I
mountains.
just said he said the name of anything a few times. I thought
I was like, yes, he said it.
Yes, the title. Yes, he said it.
It was initially serialized, so I think it was okay to do that. It's not like he's only saying it once. Next month I'm going to remind people of what we're talking about. The mountains of madness. Let's put it in here.
That makes sense because he did repeat himself a lot, which I'm not complaining about because it did help because it's a lot of content. But I definitely got that vibe. So mine's kind of broken up into 12 sections, almost like chapters. Like there will be a number every like 5 or 10 pages or so.
Right.
And that made me think were those what got individually released on a weekly or monthly basis or something?
No, I mentioned it probably. And it's 11, so I guess it's over 11 months. I guess that is.
Yeah, it's like manga chapters. Like you
I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like manga chapters or manga episodes that you get one scene of what happened before, or between breaks you get just remembering from this happens. You see it a lot.
And in manga is also look, I'm gonna save having to draw one page, but it's really an important flashback. I'm not being cheap here.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh
know?
yeah. Plus, who
I like
doesn't
it.
like to see it? Doesn't like to see the title. And
And it'll be,
of course, you want to see the title in it.
I love this description of
Yeah.
the Shogunates. The great black front looming colossally out of infinite subterraneous distance, constellated with strangely colored lights, and filling the prodigious burrow as a piston fills a cylinder. You know, I like the constellated with strangely colored lights. You know, these are the eyes that it has. These are the light organs that it has that it could probably see in the dark. You know, and it's like
Yeah.
stars in its body. You know, like he's good at, you know, poetically describing like horrific things. You know, just so many interesting things. And
Yeah, the form of them in the book seems a little bit more horrifying than even what Gotanabe put into his manga version, man. Like I think that it's even grosser than what it shows in there.
The Shoguts.
Yeah, like the way
Yeah,
Baldwin describes them there is. I mean, they look pretty ooey gooey in the manga too. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but they were more clear,
no, I
like
think the
jelly-like.
manga look pretty accurate. I mean, I guess
the
without fluorescent lights and the whatnot and what he puts in there, but yeah, it's a manga. It's
Actually,
pretty
no.
difficult.
I'm looking at it right
to do
now.
all that.
It actually is better than what I was kind of remembering, but still, it looks more watery. I guess is the way he drew it. But it's like
Yeah, it looks
I
more
imagine it more
jello,
like a tar, almost,
jello
like a
with
sticky
eyes
tar or
and
something.
all the heads and all the penguins inside him. He must have a good decision system just to use that acid on all of them. So look kind of like they just dissolve, but like yeah, to worm. They
Yes,
probably
Well,
don't.
all these monsters are still out there
pretty
at
much.
the end of the story.
Yeah, some of them at least.
the best we could hope is that they're not that bright, so hopefully they'll be relatively
Or
encapsulated
asleep
in
like the
material.
old ones, and it just haven't woken up yet. Or like
Right, they don't
Cthulhu, but
need.
Cthulhu does woke up later.
Well, supposedly they I don't know if they're like able to withstand the cold as much as the old ones. It would explain why they're not able to leave or they haven't left, and there's nothing really that they need because the entire ecosystem is right there with the penguins. That's all they need, you know. So hopefully they'll remain kind of.
Do the Shoguts need to eat?
I get the feeling.
They seem kind of artificial in a sense, so they maybe don't.
Yeah, they just do to kill them all and just to take their revenge on the old masters. But they also kill the penguins, so I guess they eat and it just dissolve them, and that's about it.
Did
Okay.
they kill the penguin?
I get the feeling that
Yeah,
they
well, the
eat
manga I
penguins.
see them eating penguins, and it went after the penguins when they get chased out. So I'm pretty sure they ate penguins. I guess, or they just get caught up in them and it just get dissolved. Basically, they just melt into them. Basically, literally.
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess it could.
Hey,
I guess
look,
that could be
mean,
real.
Basically, like, you know, they just kind of walking around, and
It almost sounded like like they were just indifferent of each other, like the penguins and the Shoguts.
Yeah,
But
I mean, in the beginning, I mean, if they're not getting chased by it or whatnot, if they just leave the just like the Shogunates are like the deep abyss, and the penguins are just like in the entrance and don't really go down there because they know what's down there, so they don't want to mess with that. So they don't mess with each other.
Maybe
What's the point in that?
the penguins are living in the caves, though. They're
Right? They heard like
Yeah.
almost like a colony of them in the caves.
They said they're
Yeah.
blind, or yeah, they're blind.
Yeah,
they don't
because
see.
they were so long underground, so they just lost pigment, and they got albino over the time. So
And they're 6 feet tall. They're monster penguins.
Yeah,
Dude.
I mean,
It's like a bear. It's like a
I like that.
bear-sized
that's
penguin.
bear.
And this bear-sized penguin is the least freakish and frightening thing that I saw on this expedition. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most normal shit ever. They saw like in
You know, like
2-3
like
days
this-
they were
There's a part where they come across them for the first time, and they were relieved. Oh, it's just a 6 foot tall albino blind penguin. You know. Thank
Yeah,
God.
it's
you know?
nothing. As long as they don't eat us, it's nothing.
It's rational. It's like you know what.
We
You
can
know what I can
understand penguin, you know. We can understand protoplasmic cosmic blob, you know. We can
Yeah,
understand that.
pretty
Oh, I
much.
like this. This is a cool line too. They call the where the Shogun was writing over crudely, you know, morbid palimpsest sculptures. You know, this is just this guy command of the English language. You know, he's just able to pull out this shit. You know, palimpsest. Like, that's like a crazy word. I'm sure that was a word that you have to look up. You know, there's this guy does increase your vocabulary with every reading.
Oh, definitely. It's not like they're all words I can. Well, that's the thing. It increases your vocabulary, but they're also words that other people don't know. So every time, even like I've used one a couple times, and then you just have to explain to people anyway. It's
You know,
honestly kind of annoying. I'm
yeah,
like,
just
whatever.
pull it up. You know, just
That's why
oh,
they
you
dumped
haven't
it down in the
heard
manga.
you know. I wonder how this reads in Japanese. You know, because the guy,
Dude,
the
I've thought
artist,
that before. Like, how do you translate this stuff to Japanese?
do you have to use
Guess by
acidic
making
words?
it more, well, the dumb it down literally, because in the English translation of the manga, it's all dumbed down. Like the
It breaks
majority
rules
of
in
it.
English, though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Dude,
Yeah,
I think
yes,
there's some
but I'm like,
typos. There's definitely some typos in at least in the Necronomicon. Maybe
I
not in
was
other issues, but there's for sure typos in
I
the
was
story.
listening to a book on tape last night, just doing like just reading along with it, just popping it open to a random page and like finding when the audiobook where that is. And some of the sentencing is different. Like, I don't know which one is right or which one is wrong.
I
If it
believe
was
it.
the book the guy was reading in the video, or was it the one I got here? I don't know.
Was it? I was wondering, was it probably changed a little bit when it was moved from
It would be
monthly
it would be
to
like
a novel?
maybe there was like one or two sentences that would be different, but then like I got to a whole paragraph that was just completely different. Like,
no.
and then I didn't see anything else.
Were they saying the same thing though?
Kind of, yeah, but like after the paragraph that was just completely restructured, I didn't really see too many other little. There were maybe some little ones, but like the paragraph was weird. I don't know why that was completely different, but
Yeah, shit. Oh, my audiobook was not too different.
Yeah.
I read something
but
completely.
maybe right, the transfer or the scribing of like from one medium to the other, or like whenever they made compilation books, they might have changed some stuff.
So when you guys listen to the audiobook, how long is the Mountains of Madness audiobook? Like,
4.5
4
hours.
hours and 49 minutes.
I thought
Yeah,
I heard someone just say half hour.
No, if I said
4
4.5
hours and
Oh.
49 minutes.
Yeah, I ballparked it at 4.5. But Mars had the exact number.
That's a
Yeah.
long. That's still a long time. Holy
Yeah,
crap!
it was a long time to to get through.
And you know what? I
could not do
I
that.
read it, but I was listening to like audiobook too at some point, you know, and I was like, maybe this guy is just talking slow. Let me speed it up to 1.25. I know the guy wasn't talking slow. That was it was barely understandable at 1.25 speed. So, you know, 4.5 hours is reading at a normal readable pace.
Yeah, but I just listen to it like from time to time, like a few days in between, not literally every night. And then I would just like, nah, I don't want to listen to it anymore. Just too many of these explanations.
Honestly, it probably took me like 6 to 8 hours, probably more accurately 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
Because I remember it took like
the
I
thing
read the last
we did,
25 pages this morning, and it took about 2.5, at least 2 hours. So
yeah, to think that we did these episodes like once a week. Try to get this in 1 week and wanting
That's
to
what-
do all of that.
I know, yeah. That's why doing some of the longer ones, I'm like, damn. Like, I got to be in the mood. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to like
Yeah,
read a lot,
yeah.
like, because you got to. It's sometimes like it can be relaxing, but then there's other times where I'm like, you really got to pay
Too
attention.
many.
I got to
Right.
look up words all the
terms,
time.
Too many fucking
You got to get in the zone.
explanations 2 times. They have no clue about it, barely any clue about what he's going on about. I'm like, yeah, I need to have more research on this, and I need to read this over and over. It's like Blame. You need to read it over and over and have like years of experience.
Well, I mean, it is just fun.
know.
You don't have to, like,
obviously. It's just, I mean, for the podcast, it's just fun. It doesn't need to be the most groundbreaking thing ever, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm saying I don't think HP wanted people to like think too hard about his whole universe and mythos and stuff. I think he was having fun with it.
He kind of failed at that though.
Like I don't feel
I don't know.
like I feel like
He put
he's
a lot of
taking his
detail.
works here. Yeah, he puts a lot of detail, but
A lot.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't think he would. I don't think he'd care if people just enjoyed it for not thinking too hard about it. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah. I mean, but why put in all these structures? This 7 feet tall, 8 feet tall, and this
It
shape like
Dude,
this,
honestly,
shape like that.
I'd have to
Yeah.
like take notes in every story because they all kind of reference certain little things from the other stories. It would take me a while.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Here's,
That's what I mean.
Connect
you need
connect
to
all the
read
different dots.
a
Like, that
lot
would take a
of
long ass
more
time.
I got a
He-
detail. I got a detail right here. The Nathaniel Derby Pickman Foundation, aided by a few special contributions, financed
Right?
the expedition.
Yes.
But dude, that's not even the Pickman from Pickman's model. That's got to be one of his relatives or something.
Well, I didn't think it was the same Pikmin, but I was like, maybe it's somehow related.
It was in the
Pickman,
in Pickman's model. It was said that he was from an affluent family or something like that.
All these
he's
guys
really,
are freaking
yeah,
crazy
you know what?
researchers.
I
They
barely
have their
even
little
know what
circles they
Pikmin
get
is,
together with.
like-
They all went to that Expatonic or whatever university.
Miskatonic University.
Miskatonic, yeah. I like how free these universities are with their money for all kind of godforsaken explorations into, you know. They're very they look at this. They want for nothing, you know. Is basically
I like
it,
the
yeah.
more effed up ones, like the ones that were just going grave digging. Like
Oh,
they just
those were
want to.
good too.
They're just living to witness the most fucked
yeah,
up
the
shit they
hound.
could think
Yeah,
of.
yeah, the
Those-
hound was maybe grave groppers just.
Those two guys were so
Artists.
great, you know. They're just taking such joy in
Yeah.
digging up, you know.
But those
oh,
were
who-
his earlier work, so he was just like, just going with it, and that's it. And later on, he really got fucking detailed, even to like, even the old ones were like just piercing these people's skulls just to kill them. Like they don't even strangle them, or like the last one they strangled, like his neck had bruises and blood all
Oh.
around. It, so
Here's a funny one. I guess Inseinen, did you ever read Under the Pyramids? It's you said you read a bunch of stories whenever you first got the book.
I
Did you remember?
didn't read that.
Yeah, there's a funny.
I read about half the short ones, but some of them not.
Yeah, Under the Pyramids is pretty cool. It's just a good one in general, but like there's a Easter egg in there that the person that the story is. I don't want to spoil it, but I don't even think.
spoil it.
Yeah,
I planned on going back to some shorter ones.
I don't even think that it's stated in the book, but like Lovecraft himself said that it's a famous person that's the main character of the book, but it's never deliberately told to you.
Oh, okay.
It's trivia. I say read it. Anybody read it. It's just a fun one. I feel like Ancient Egypt too.
All right, cool. That'll be my next one because I was unsure of what to do next. I pretty much read all of the ones like less than 20 pages, but there's some like between 20 and 30 you need to do. And honestly, I'm excited about getting into the Eldritch Tales because those are all short stories. And dude, a lot of times at night I just want like, enough to read just one little short story.
I haven't gotten into
and
Eldritch
then
Tales yet.
just a bunch of lore that you barely understand, and then just need to keep it up. If the next time just go on and on and on. I mean, it's fun if you read it or listen to it. But after a while,
I don't plan on becoming a master of Lovecraftian universe. Like no,
It's
like thinking too hard about it.
You know
Yeah,
what?
dude, that would take so long.
Nobody plans
mean-
it, maybe it just kind of happens, One day you'll have finished all multiple times and, then you will be there.
I mean,
Well, it is funny how like I can tell how much we're all learning just going through them and like the connection.
Yeah.
And the
It's
other
like,
stories.
I mean,
It's
it's
a
like,
cool journey.
I mean, I know a lot of blame. I mean, I went through a few years of that and going through Discord and subreddit and whatnot and looking up all these interviews and all this stuff. And then I know what the fuck was going on.
Well,
But that also took some years to do all of that. So, yeah,
Did you guys-
I know how difficult that can be.
do you guys appreciate how Mountains of Madness was like, or better yet, Shadow Out of Time was an event that took place after the Mountains of Madness event? Like there was continuity in that the creatures from the Mountains of Madness were in Shadow Out of Time.
Yeah. A few times they were mentioned in it that the elder things. There was a few times that it was mentioned in. Yeah. Yeah, the Mountains of Madness came after. No, the Shadow of Time came after the Mountains of
Yeah, because
Madness.
Professor Dyer was on the Australian expedition in the Shadow of Time,
Ah, yeah.
and it was
Okay,
stated
yeah,
that
yeah.
he was the head of the Antarctic expedition.
Oh man, I'm so terrible with names that that kind of stuff just go over me. I have a hard
Dude,
time.
Yeah, me too. Or I need to have read
I
it
I
and
didn't catch
then
that.
get it in my.
That is crazy cool. So the same guy led both expeditions.
No, he was just a guest on the Australian expedition, and he
Okay.
didn't really have any lines, which was like Lovecraft could have maybe worked something in there, but he didn't really have a big role. He
But
was just there.
That's
you
kinda
know what?
cool. I wonder
If
if he
he
shows
was
up again.
if he was central to the story, he would have been so crazy that he would not be able to go on more than one expedition.
Yeah,
It's
like, and
only proof that he
basically,
was.
it's like he had all the knowledge of the Antarctic expedition while he was there in that part of the story. God, my cat.
God, well, and he has a certain amount of fortitude there, because I don't think I could go on living normally, having seen some of this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
and like
yeah, after the
Danforth.
story, like Danforth was completely fucked, but
Yeah, he went to a crazy house.
Okay,
and just
that makes sense then. Yeah, crazy house, that makes sense.
and just calling all these names like the Color Out of Space, the Grave Dim. What was it called? No.
All stuff that he read in the Necronomicon.
Yeah, all the stuff. Yeah.
Because it was
all right. Was
I
that
can read it. Wait, I can get to it.
is that why that guy
yeah,
went,
he says.
went more mad?
What'd you say, Bilal?
At the end, one of the friends went more insane, and he was known to have read the Necronomicon cover to cover.
Danforth was the one who read the Necronomicon the most.
Right.
Yeah,
I was wondering if that's why he was more susceptible to madness.
Yeah.
Because he was more crazy as opposed to, I was wondering which one led to the other. Is the person that reads the Necronomicon more susceptible to madness? Or does the Necronomicon make you more susceptible? Which one is it,
It depends on what you do with the knowledge. Does it break you or does it make you smarter? Like,
it broke that guy.
Yeah, he had too much.
He's a part of it. Although we gave Danforth the best care, his spirit never recovered from what he saw in Antarctica. He no longer attempts to damage himself, but as his sanity, well, it depends on the day. He crawls around sometimes. I have no idea what he says. Black pits, widow's solids with 5 dimensions, the craven rim, primal white jelly, proto-shogos, jog-jogos, the color out of space, ice and darkness, tekiriki. Sometimes he'd be fooling himself for a time and ask him about these ramblings. Rebuke them completely. Indeed, he attributes them to nothing more than the reading of his student days. Danforth was known to be at school as among of the few who dared to read completely through the worm-riddled copy of the Necronomicon kept in the library, in the university library. But he saw something
Thank you for that,
from those jet black mountains.
Yeah, you're just really going.
Thank you
didn't want to grade this too.
What are you reading?
The manga.
Okay. I was like, you don't have the book. What are you reading?
The manga is easier at hand. I mean, I can go back to when...
No, it's okay.
Yeah, all good, though. Yeah, that was the epilogue. That was like the final.
Yeah. It's epilogue. Difficult to go back if you don't have the books. Well, I won't even find it anyway, but whatever.
Well, anything else you guys want to talk about as far as the story goes?
I mean, I sure we'll come up with I go through all my notes here. Just a little detail I liked. When they found the furs and tent cloth that were made into crude garments for the creatures, they came across a pile. It was composed of furs and tent cloth taken from Lake's camp.
Oh,
and we were forced to study the bizarre forms into which the fabrics had been slashed. I thought that was fun. They just
that was creepy. That was like definitely some good horror like wordage. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like just these guys, and they're probably doing. Imagine what they would look like wearing human clothes. They'd probably be wearing like some underwear on their head to cover the style or whatever. just whatever appendages, making extra holes in their stuff and thing, is crazy. Think about. Yeah, just so much cool little things like that he has, and he likes alliteration.
The fuck.
Sunless
Dogs.
sea, drug dreamers, I like how they describe the Shogunates being tamed like wild horses,
Yeah, that was cool.
Just
Wild horse.
yeah, that was just kind of a little throwaway line when they
It was like
talking
an
about
analogy. So, yeah, like the Shogunates were to the old ones, like horses were when we trained them to rode
Okay,
their
yeah,
backs.
yeah.
Like they were
okay, I remember.
tools.
Yeah.
Shogun-
I remember they said that. Yeah.
Shogunates were tamed and broken by armed old ones, as the wild horses of the American West were tamed by cowboys.
Yeah.
Except they are, semi-sentient, Well, not it seems like I get the idea that they became smart because they
Hey,
were
sorry about
constantly-
that.
We were the dogs
They-
again.
They
Yeah,
were,
I gotta go though. My guest is here.
Shit.
okay.
Alright. Hi,
Yeah.
Okay,
Emerald.
All right,
later.
guys. I'll talk to you later.
Peace.
Who's picking the story next? I mean,
what
we
do you
don't.
wanna do?
Don't know.
Did
Are
you-
you guys
We can
mentioned
always
one
talk
before?
about it in the Discord.
Maybe
too.
Aposimus next time or Blame.
Isn't it your turn, Inseinen, or do we want to like put the brakes on?
Did Mars choose one?
I
As yet?
want to do something that's not not HP Lovecraft. for
Okay,
next time.
yeah, we'll
Maybe
take an
I
maybe
kinda want-
EA again.
I kind of want to do an anime.
Okay.
We never
Oh,
talked
I
about
don't know.
one.
I mean, if there's one that I like, I'll let you know. Or if there's
Yeah.
one that
Probably.
I don't know. You know what I mean. We'll figure it out.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
Well, yo, have
Alright,
fun
guys.
with your guest, man.
Oh, I will.
Okay,
Sorry
later.
that there was crossing the plans. I should have figured that one out. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace, brother.
Bye.
Later.
Fucking finally, the guy. Gee.
Fuck you, Mars.
And I know it would be coming with that, every time,
Yeah, be a little
We'll just
original,
have-
Mars. Damn.
Yeah, I know.
No, but
I
it's
know.
just, I mean, I don't know how does this work, because you see, he says that about everyone else, so he's the enemy of
Yes,
every
Mars.
other person,
Whatever. We say it when Mars leaves. Just like,
Yeah, yeah, I know. I've listened to.
yo, Ball, is it even cold where you're at right now?
Man, probably the coldest, the record of temperature in this country is probably still about 15 Celsius,
Yeah.
like the record low. So, unlikely
That's
that,
low.
Mars, what about you? What's it at?
Here's at 15 Celsius, which is
Right.
really warm for the time of the year.
Fucking
The-
Celsius people.
the
It's
record,
better than whatever Americans you're doing.
well, the
Oh.
record for Trinidad is 16.1 Celsius, ever.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah.
That is super warm. I thought it would be
That is,
colder where you're
winter,
at,
yeah.
Mars.
I mean, yeah, for like a week ago was like -3 or something like -3
Oh, wow.
was like. So yeah, it's probably like what do you call it?
Well, 16.
Oh, I did a
16
Celsius
60
to
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. Yeah, I did a
Mm.
Celsius to Fahrenheit calculator. It's hot in Florida. Like it's like I don't know exact temp. Probably high 70s, low 80s.
So
Oh man. Yeah.
I got some-
What's up, Mars? You said you got some blam news?
yeah. You remember that there was like an ad for like the GBE like in 2019 that they made one that they wanted to make one with 1,000 toys. Yeah, there is actually being made one right now, like a working one, like one that can literally fold out like in the manga itself with all the lights and everything. Like the man who made that video, he got into the
Wait.
IQ.
One that transforms?
Yeah, fully
Like,
working.
It's
with
a
lights
toy
and all.
though. It's
Yeah,
not
but
real.
it's actually pretty heavy. It's like heavy, like the real thing would be. Actually,
That's fucking awesome. I would
Yeah.
love to have that, and I would love to have the negotiator or whatever it's called from
the
Psychopaths.
Dominator.
The Dominator. Yeah,
The
those are two
Dominator,
guns I would love to
yeah.
have.
Yeah. Because the guy went to the Haiku, got a prototype, and he's also designing the sounds for the thing. So he's completely into it. But through
Wow.
COVID and whatnot, the plans got halted, but they're still working on the thing. So maybe we're getting a real GB in the future. I mean,
at
I
a
really
glance,
thought he would just make an easy model with just lights and whatnot, and that would be it. But not a working one, actually. Oh man, yeah,
when I heard you say
that's just like
a working one, for a second I was like, what? How working? You know,
Dude, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, Mars, what? Like new scientific advancements? Shit.
And they're using it to make
I
a
went to-
recreation of a gun, a fictional gun in a comic.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean,
yeah,
that'd be
I
cool.
just went to the guy's YouTube, to his Discord, and just asked him, and he just told me all of that because he forgot he had like some kind of secrecy about it because they wanted to keep it as a secret, as a surprise, obviously, that they came out with this. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a while already, like 2 years already, almost 3, but yeah. Yes,
Yo.
and yesterday I've also found a lot of new info, like when he went to Germany to Christmas markets and whatnot, and talked about how inspiration come from Europe to make people really tall because we're here way more taller than in Japan, and how he went on beer, and then how he got to 10-liter beers and whatnot, and all kinds of interesting stuff.
Wait, 10-liter beers?
Yeah. He went to glasses and then just got 2 10 liters.
Okay.
Glass.
I-
I mean,
That's
I
a
mean, it's just,
lot.
I
You know how
just
much that is?
imagine. I
I mean,
I
it
thought
was
I thought he bought one bottle of beer that was 10
no,
liters.
not
know,
literally 10 liters of fucking beer. That's like a vat or something. It's like a barrel, literally, or some shit
Right,
like
a
that.
keg.
Oh, dude, Mars, you gotta see my Toa.
Ah, yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw
shit.
it on the fucking wiki. No, on the
Oh.
fucking Reddit. I saw it.
Yeah, that's when I was like fresh and bleeding. It
Yeah.
turned out pretty good though. I'm a
Yeah, it's
bleeder,
even better,
man.
obviously. Yeah, fuck. So, what was your Christmas like?
It was pretty chill.
Hmm.
I just spent it with like immediate family, mom, sister, and their boyfriends. My grandma was there.
Nice.
And yeah, we opened gifts the night before actually, and then the next
Oh.
morning we all kind of hung out.
Hmm.
And I got you'll like this. One sec.
Oh, there's a bit of a lag on the live stream here.
I got the
Yeah.
Ryuko. That
Ah,
one we were talking
Rukio,
about.
you got that. Great. Nice.
Yeah. I haven't read it yet, but I mean from what I saw and like looked into it, it sounded right up my alley. Like
Yeah.
realistic, bloody
Yeah,
awesomeness.
yeah. With complete babes that just kick ass constantly. Yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, I also
got-
I don't know about anything about that one.
Huh?
no, but
I thought-
also that said, it's also not the complete one because he's still working on volume 3. So I don't know why they call it the complete version because it isn't. But whatever.
Complete.
And
No, what he's
also-
making now is like a slightly different story, I think. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he's making Genpan High or something like that. It's more like a mythical tale. And there's also Gamma Dragoness. That's more an occult version with some Yakuza elements and some action in it. It's like one volume. It's also pretty great. It's also out in English. Also,
This
have
is-
it now.
Who's the author of that? I'm not familiar with that one at all.
This Eldo Yoshimizu.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not good with names.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
Eldo
Rico,
Yoshimizu.
Okay. There's another manga that I was looking at that had Rico with a O. Okay, with a U. All right. I downloaded.
Are you talking about the boxing one?
Boxing.
No, that one. I don't know. I was just googling it just now and I misspelled it. So that is a totally different thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
Oh
it's-
my god. Have you guys heard of Jigan?
Jigan? Maybe. What's
Uh,
It's about
about?
a new horror manga. It's supposed to be like
okay.
kind of like similar to Parasite. I think it actually either just finished up or it's supposed to finish soon.
Oh, Yagan. Do you mean?
Jigan. It has like 100 days.
Oh
You know what I'm
no,
talking-
yeah, I read that. I read that.
Like
I
100
read
days or
2,
100
3
ends or
volumes of that.
something.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been
Okay.
reading
I'm
that.
not
I
seeing it.
mean, been a while since I read it, but
The-
yeah, that's also a crazy story of like a guy that gets a frog inside him, and then his hand transformed into this laser, and an owl is telling him how the fucking frogs turn
Oh
people
God.
and
That's
get
probably a
their
decent
greatest
seinen.
desires out of them, or something like that. It's just wild stuff.
Ah,
Yeah.
Alex Jones would like to see this manga here. It have like a lot of body horror looking stuff on this.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks great.
pretty,
I hope they publish it in English. But either way, I'll probably go.
Probably will. It's pretty popular right now. Like hear it everywhere. Well, a while back, or I hear it everywhere about that.
I'll
Yeah.
probably just end up reading the scans online. It takes like so long for them to
I mean, yeah,
publish
if you
the
wait for the
manga.
scans, it take a long time. But then just go back to other works and just wait for the scans to come out, and just go waiting for months and months on end to get the scan. It's like for
Man,
Berserk, you try to wait, and like you're waiting for years. Maybe
man. I've actually been rereading Berserk, because like I'm just
Yes, dude. How
Ah.
far did you? Or how much did you reread recently? Because I kind of did that too.
I reached by I think I reached just before the big comeback of Griffith, the just before that. So he's
Right before like the graveyard scene where like it's in the snow and there's swords. And then Zod shows up.
They've just now rescued him. They've just now rescued him, and he's with them.
Oh, before
Yeah,
the Advent. Okay. I
Yeah,
see what
the
you're
big
saying.
comeback. He's it's gonna be like old times, right? It's gonna be like, and I'm reading this thing, right, and I'm thinking, obviously I know this can't happen, but I'm thinking maybe it'll turn out different this time,
Oh yeah, good luck. It's such a good story, dude. It's so brutal.
The guy is so good at look at the torture that he gave this guy. It's such a exquisite torture, He's taken away not just his position, but everything that he had worked for, just the physical.
Yeah, like everyone in the
to
God
move.
Hand also lost everything, like in the one specific way. Like 2 were probably priester, 1 was an whore, and the main guy we don't know, and probably never will, because well, he died, so we don't know if we're getting ever another chapter, or well, probably not, because it was leaked that the assistants didn't want to continue it. So
Good. I don't think they should. It ends at a pretty good point where he
yeah.
left it off.
So, I don't know if you're familiar with Star Wars at all, but in the new Star Wars, one of the things that the people didn't like was that the classic cast was never physically reunited in one place.
No, because they're too old, or they don't want to anymore. They're dead, or
no,
like,
one of them died. One of them died. That was Leia.
Yeah, the sister. Yeah.
But this is like the manga of. Anyway, I don't want to say nothing about Berserk spoilers. Actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, even Boba Fett was recently released. I'm like, why? Just let it die already. We already had the movies in the 70s. I mean, we don't need that much more.
You know what, Mars? I'm kind of on your side too, but there are some hardcore Star Wars fans out there.
Yeah, I know. Over the world.
They will ingest as much Star Wars as they can.
They just ingest everything they can get their hands on, basically.
It's like a different fan base. Like something new I watched. I actually watched it last night. I watched the new Matrix movie. And
Matrix 4. Yeah.
They should have just left it alone.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It's like, look, the action is far below the level of the first Matrix. How the hell you do that?
There's no tension. I never felt any tension or like anything during the film. Like I knew everyone was going to be okay the whole time. Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I still have to see it because there's a lockdown, so I can't go to the cinema and see it. So that's kind of sucks, but
You could probably find it online. It's not that hard to just
obviously I can
watch
find
it for
online, but
free.
I want to see on the big screen finally
Oh,
something
true.
But
from
I
them.
don't know. In my opinion, it's not worth it because it's like
I
like
wouldn't
I said,
watch it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Or like the originals on the big screen. That was also a while back, but no
I
money.
would
so fuck.
I would put up with that unnecessary story if the action was good, but it wasn't. It was just none. Like you see that new kind of bullet time thing that I tried to do. It was so dumb. Like
Yeah,
oh,
they tried to do too many throwbacks. They should have
Oh
just tried to
shit!
make
I don't know.
something new within the universe. Like I didn't think Neo was going to be the main character. I thought it was
Yeah, I
going to be
thought
a
Neo
side
died the
character.
last movie when the
Well,
computer took him off or something like that.
well, that's why obviously like this kind of tells you what happens after. But I don't know. I don't want to spoil it either if you're going to plan on
Yeah.
watching it.
yeah,
So
but it's not even much of a spoiler. It's like oh, you'll probably be like oh, instead of being like oh, why did you spoil it? You'd be like oh, that is it. Well, that is a thing. You know.
well, anyway,
yeah,
how was your
Yeah.
guys' Christmas?
That man was
yeah,
pretty
it was
good.
good. Reading some Berserk, so that is always good. I finally downloaded Gantz the manga to start that.
Dude, Gantz is
Ah,
awesome.
fair.
Oh my
I
god, I
know.
love
Every time,
Gantz.
yeah.
Gantz is so epic. Dude, you either love Gantz or you hate Gantz because it's pretentious and ridiculous. Or it's
Yeah,
something
they
to be
throw a
enjoyed.
lot of stuff into it, but I
Well,
know the author. I mean,
look, at the very least, there's like a bunch of leather clad,
Dude, there's like there's a half naked babe at every chapter. Like
So the
like
guy,
the chapter page of every chapter, like the title, is just unnecessary nudity. Like every time.
of course,
so
because
see the guy,
Japan.
look, the guy knows his audience, right? He knows what
He
to
does,
draw.
dude. It's a
So,
very just adult, fun like story.
Yeah, just throwing everything you can think of. Like Giant, for instance, his new work is also just this giant porno chick that just tries to
Oh, I
fight
know about
aliens
that.
that people wished because some giant alien ship is over the Earth or some shit like that.
Oh.
Like, why?
I think the guy just like, what I feeling to draw today? I feeling to draw, giant, girls fighting, and he just draw it. He come up with a story, a thin story probably, and he just draws it. I mean, look at Sin City. What did Frank Miller want to draw? I want to draw, broads, guns, cars, guys beating the shit out of each other, and he just come up with a story and drew that.
Yeah.
It does me think about Magical Girl: The Apocalypse. That was also such a shitty story. It's just the characters go from one archetype to another. Like the first, it started out as a dumb gore fest, just gore, and basically no plot, and it's just you get these magical girls that kill everything, like machines or whatnot. It just gets really bizarre and really stupid really fast. But yeah, I couldn't get.
Did you
I
guys
mean,
look at
it sounds ridiculous. Magical Girl of the End. It's like an apocalyptic version of like magical girls, but are actually the monsters that kill everybody, and it just gets and with time travel and other stuff, and it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder.
Hold on, you
It's
guys
a really
really?
stupid story.
You guys saw Gigantomaxia, the manga that Mira drew as a break between
Yeah.
Berserk?
How was
I
it?
heard
I
about
haven't
it,
read
yeah.
it.
You know what? I really like it because it brings up a huge amount of questions and doesn't really answer a lot of them. But I think it's a great story.
Oh, cool. I'll read it then.
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
the
only like
artwork's great.
yeah. I mean, look, I think he was like, I want to draw something that probably couldn't exist in the world of Berserk. And he had all this energy. And it's set 100 million years in the future, so he could draw whatever, Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
imagine he could draw almost anything based on, the all these fantasia creatures that have come to Earth in Berserk, and there's like a science fiction element to this too, that is interesting. Yeah, definitely check it out. And imagine this guy It's so crazy. He's putting out entire mangas as a break between another manga. You know, oh, this is just a whole other manga I have. You know, this is
Yeah,
just
a lot
Yeah,
of people were pissed. 'Cause
well,
they wanted more Berserk, and then Miura was
Yeah,
doing the same story.
obviously. Everybody and the mother wants more Berserk for damn years because they're waiting for hiatuses and whatnot. And now he died, which is obviously unfortunate. And people are screaming like at the screen, like, "No, I want more." I'm like, "Mate, he's dead. You can't get more anymore."
I mean,
It's-
you know, just I don't really I can't hold anything against him. You know, I mean, who could have given the world so much? How many among us will ever give this much?
Among Us.
You know, to everybody, to humanity. You know, I don't think I'm being too grandiose when I'm saying that. You know, I mean, you have
That's
a
fucking true.
I mean, he
yeah.
gave a lot of ideas to a lot of fucking artists. I mean, look at like
Dark Souls. You know, there'd be no
Dark
Dark
Souls.
Souls.
Yeah,
without-
Dark Souls, for instance, got a lot of ideas from Berserk and other
Well,
works too.
it's
so-
also an inspiring story, which has probably inspired millions of people. That's
And
why
it will
it's so
continue.
epic. Like you want to see Guts do what he's got to do to get through his despair and his shit, and he keeps fighting.
Yeah, you
Good
know,
stuff.
I mean, you know, look at what Guts had to overcome to even reach to where he is. You know, like
I mean,
I'm saying
a lot more than most people could. So
yeah, this guy's just crazy. You know, this is. I mean, you know, even if we never hear anything more about this, I am sure sales have gone up. You know, like
I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, like how sometimes something will be unfinished and all interest will die. You know, no, this is interest that will grow. And as you said, it ended in a place that is like it's almost like being in
Not too bad.
eternal angst will make it more eternal itself. You know,
I honestly agree. Because you'll never be able to complain about the ending because it doesn't actually exist, but it left off at a pretty good place.
Oh God,
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
that reunion.
yeah. I mean,
How long were we waiting for this reunion? I mean, look, the man who was gifted so much left a final gift.
Yeah.
You know?
That last
Fucking-
chapter is a really it is a gift.
I mean, yeah, you could already see where it would end. I mean, probably Guts would just take over the place of Griffith as part of the
I
god,
don't-
and it just handles
No,
and
dude,
repeats,
where the
basically.
story's at. I don't want to spoil it.
No.
Anyway, I don't think he's going after the God Hand at this point. Put it that way. I think he's
even if he was, let's say he was the Henry God Hand, he would through whatever cosmic events, because he wouldn't. That is not something that he would choose. He would
he's
only
also
choose
super
that.
worn down. Like wearing that berserker armor has done a toll on him. He is not in like the greatest Guts shape in the last chapter. And he just accomplished one of his major goals. Like finally.
Yeah, getting Casca back.
Yeah, he might try to just enjoy life. Maybe that was
But how will he enjoy life when all the spirits of the underworld want to take him to hell? If he can't get that to work, then he will fight forever.
It's supposed to have something like a god in that realm that he's in that prevents any kind of malevolence from entering.
Yeah,
right?
they're where the fairies live.
I know where the spirits are there.
Yeah.
Also, that part gets also invaded, like the Moonchild gets back and whatnot, and yeah, I don't know.
So there's like an interesting way that they got around the fact that no malevolence could enter. Now he was one thing when he and now he's another thing. So he entered in that state when he was the Moonlight Boy. Now we get into spoilers, but
yeah, we should stop talking about Berserk.
Yeah, okay.
People are gonna be bad. Everyone go read Berserk if you haven't read it.
I think they already do.
But
that's a prerequisite for watching this channel, I guess, and any channel for existence. A prerequisite for existence.
I mean, any manga channel, anime channel is talking about it, so it's not difficult to get away from it.
But all right, guys, I'm starving. I'm about to make some dinner.
All right.
I guess we'll get in touch in the Discord and see what we're doing next.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe Kaiba. Also really great sci-fi experimental stuff. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll think about it in Discord, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Well, all right, guys. Everyone, thanks for joining. Keep reading HP Lovecraft. Stay tall, heavy, tough. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Satan.
Bye.